welcome to episode 55 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today's the 17th of January. So I hope you've all had a lovely crafty week since I last podcast. So it's only been 1 week since I last podcast because I'm changing my schedule so that I can do it every Thursday so I can share sort of shorter podcasts more often with you. So if you haven't watched before, I tend to share all the crafty things that I've been up to, which include mainly knitting, sewing, dressmaking, quilting, bobbin lace, and all the things that I can get my hands on really. I love crafting, it's so much fun, and I like to have a chat to you about it. Anyway, thank you so much for subscribing. If you're one of the new subscribers, I noticed that we're nearly at 6,000 now, so thank you so much for giving me a go, and thanks for watching again if you've watched previously. So let's get on with the good stuff. So you can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, Facebook as Craft House Magic, and I have a website, crafthousemagik.co.uk, which you can find my knitting accessories, bags, yarn, etc. And you can find links below to all those things. So today I've got some knitting to share with you and also some dressmaking. And I'm going to focus on the Make 9 targets I had for last year, the things that I achieved and the things I didn't. Doesn't matter, they're just fun targets. And the new targets I've got for this coming year. I've also got a blast from the past. So if you haven't watched before, I generally do a blast from the past section, which means I share with you something that I've done a little while ago, and also a gadget section where I share a little gadget that I find quite useful with you. So I'll sometimes alternate between the two now because I'm doing it every week. I'm going to run out of things to share with you otherwise, but generally I'll just share with you what I've found interesting on that week. So, and then I've got some confessions. Is where I talk about the naughty things that I've bought. I say they're naughty, but they're not that naughty, but I shouldn't really be buying more stuff because this room is absolutely jam-packed with lovely, lovely things. Lots of yarn and lots of fabric, which Adam says contributes to the installation of the house, which I am loving. He's a wonderful husband, isn't he? And then I'm going to be doing a shop update at the end. Information on my shop update, which will be tomorrow, the 18th of January at 10 AM in the morning. So from now on, I'm going to do a shop update every Friday, and it'll alternate between 10 AM and 7 PM in the evening. And you'll be able to find out if you sort of don't catch up with the podcast. On my website, there's a bar at the top which will tell you what time the update is. So let's get on with the knitting section. So I completely forgot on the last episode to share these little Christmas decorations with you that I knitted over the Christmas period. So they're tiny little jumpers that are knitted sort of in the same way as you knit a large jumper really. So it's great practice to sort of start with sweater knitting without having to knit loads. So they were great fun to have a go at. And the pattern is the Matchbox Sweater Project, and it's written by Anna Feldman and Jane Lithgow. And I saw that Grace from Babel's Travelling Yarns had picked up a kit from, I can't remember what the yarn shop is. I'll put it on the screen, I'll find out in a bit for you. She'd picked up a kit for these, and I went straight to Ravelry and had to buy the pattern because aren't they the cutest thing ever? So I knitted these with some scrap yarns that I found in my stash, and they're Jameson and Smith that I got left over from my Peary Fluers hat. So I am in love. I think I prefer this sort of shape because I like the way the arms rest. And I can't remember what the individual patterns are, but I will pop those on the screen as well because I've completely not written my notes out today. How terrible is that? I'm sure by next Christmas I'll have knitted the other two as well. You may have noticed I've got the cutest little coat hangers in there. I'll take one out to show you. So Adam found these on eBay for me, and I could have made some myself, but they're little wooden coat hangers. How cute is that? So I got a few of those so that I can pop my little Christmas jumpers on to put onto the Christmas tree. And I'm hoping to have a little batch of those and to make lots of little hand knitted things to go on the Christmas tree for next year. So that's my only finished object for this week, I'm afraid, but I have been busy knitting. So you might have noticed that I'd been knitting quite a lot on my Northeasterly blanket last year. Well, it isn't. I'm using the blanket pattern as like a scarf. I was calling it a shawl last week, but it really isn't a shawl. It's kind of a scarf really. And you can see how much I've done already. So I've done 2 rows of the pattern. And this pattern is by Melissa, who is Shenanigans, and I will pop links to these patterns down below so that you can easily access them. So it enables you to keep knitting a straight strip, and I knitted one as long as I wanted the scarf to be, and then I've started doing a second one. And I've done 2 whole strips of the Northeasterly pattern, the length I want it to go around my neck, so I shall show you how I'd planned to wear it. But I am planning on doing at least one more strip all the way along to make it a nice size for a scarf. So there we go, you can see how that sort of lays. I suppose I could just wear it as 2 strips really, but I'm addicted to it and I need to knit one more. But that's looking lovely already. And I've used all the little samples that I'd been gifted from my lovely friends on my advent swaps. So that's really lovely. This pattern is so lovely because, I keep saying so lovely a lot already. It's all the tea I've had this morning, oh dear. So this pattern enables you, when you finish knitting with one yarn, Melissa talks about just starting to knit with your second yarn and knitting the ends in as you go, so you don't have to sew in any ends, well, apart from the one you start with and finish with. And then when you're joining your second row of the chevron, you actually knit the last stitch into this one to join it in together, so you don't have to sew those in together either. So it's completely addictive. I've had trouble putting this down. I said to myself, once I finish one row, I will stop knitting on it and get on with my EYF jumper. So there we go. I shall show you my EYF jumper. So I talked about my sort of make 9 that I wanted to achieve on my last episode, and one of those things was the cherry blossom cardigan. And this pattern is by Lenny Tosti. I've no idea how you pronounce that, but at least you can see how it's spelt. And it's a pattern that you can download off Ravelry, and it's a paid for pattern. And I chose to use some John Arbon Knit by Numbers yarn, and I've picked a nice dark grey, which is number 5 I think, and then I've got 2 shades of pink. I've put the other pink away, but it's a darker shade of pink than this, and they're 77 and 79 the numbers. So what I decided to do is actually knit the colour work in 2 colours and then apply the other 2 colours that are in this pattern afterwards to stitch them over, because I was looking at Ava from the Charm of It had done this garment already, and she'd actually just done the 2 colour work and then applied the other 2 colours afterwards, because there's very little of those 2 colours in the actual colour work pattern itself. So I shall show you how much I've done. I really haven't done very much, but bearing in mind that I did a gauge swatch as well and made sure that it was okay, you can see the 2 colours that I've got so far. This is a provisional cast on, so it won't be that colour round the neck. So it's a top-down cardigan, and it's going to be steeked, which I'm very excited about. But I'm loving the way these yarns are working together. So it's 100% merino John Arbon Knit by Numbers, and I was asking people whether it was non-superwash or superwash last episode, and it is definitely not a superwash yarn, and I think that is helping the stitches sort of merge together and look neater, if that makes sense, because it's not a superwash. So I'm loving this pattern, and it is taking me quite a while to knit all the way around it, but I'm definitely getting quicker the more I get into the pattern. It is charted, so I'm finding it nice and easy to read the charts, although I need to get my bit of washi tape out so that I can find the area I am in the pattern already, because sometimes I get a bit lost because it's quite a large chart, or there's several sections of the chart together. But I'm very excited about wearing that to Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I'm not quite sure how many days to go, but I need to get a wiggle on that. It was because I was addicted to my Northeasterly blanket, you see. I haven't been working on any of my other projects, I'm afraid, but I'm going to really focus on my cardigan so that I can get it done for EYF. We have got, I forgot to say about the knit-alongs that are going on at the moment. We have got the Here We Gnome Again Gnome Along going on in the Ravelry group, which I haven't touched since last week, but I'm hoping to get a bit of time before the next episode to show you, because that's only a small project anyway. So we've got a knit along going on in the Ravelry group for that, and for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival sort of garments and gloves and hats and scarves and whatever, come and share your Edinburgh Yarn Festival knits over in the Ravelry group as well for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival knit along. And if you're not going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, it doesn't matter, you can pretend, you can join in anyway. we always like to be inclusive of all knitty things. It's all about having fun in the end of the day, and double dipping any of my knit alongs. You can double dip any time, so don't worry about that. So lovely Jenn Shelan has offered us a copy of her beautiful shawl called Rustic Elegance, and I'm quite tempted to knit this myself. If you scroll down on the project page, there's an example of a grey one with different tones of greys ranging from dark to light, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And we've also been offered 3 copies of the Tess shawl by Vintage Cianide Designs, and that's a really lovely triangular shaped shawl as well. So these will be pattern prices for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival knit along. And just quickly let me mention the other 2 knit alongs that I've got running. So the Candy Cane Socks knit along, which is my own candy cane pattern that I wrote and released before Christmas. That knit along is going to go to the end of January, and so is the Advent Mini knit along, just so that people can sort of finish off what they started knitting. Because I originally said that I'd go to the 15th of January, but just give people a little bit longer. Anyway, that's all the knitting for today, and I'm afraid a lot of the rest of the episode is to do with sewing, but I do have the bit of information about my shop update at the end, which is sort of more knitting related, if you want to stick around for that. And I also have a sort of Instagram knit along, which will be to do with the new bag and yarns I'll be releasing, and I'll talk about that at the end of the episode. So let's get on to the dressmaking stuff. And of course, if we've got dressmaking, we can't do without Barbara, can we? Come on, Barbara. Hello, Barbara. So if you're new to the podcast, I've named my dressmaking mannequin Barbara because she has to have a name. So Barbara is wearing my new Frankie Tshirt. So Frankie Tshirt is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons, and I've chosen to use the short sleeve version. I think I pretty much did it as the pattern suggests, but I've obviously used some crazy fabric. So I picked this fishy fabric up from a shop called Watson and Thornton in Shrewsbury, and they do have an online shop as well, but I've noticed that they don't seem to put the jerseys online, but inside the shop, if you go in, they do tend to do quite a nice range of jerseys if you're ever in Shrewsbury. So this is a really nice quality single jersey with a lovely fish print on. Now, I don't know if I'd ordinarily wear this every day, but I have booked a holiday this year, so this will be ideal to go on holiday with. I don't know if I'd be a bit embarrassed that I look a bit like I'm wearing children's clothes. I don't know, but it's a bit of fun anyway. And I've paired it with a solid navy for the sleeves. And I quite like this style of the Frankie because you've got a nice raglan sleeve there. And I've added the same navy blue fabric, a little triangle round the neck here. So I used my overlocker to join the fabric pieces up. And then I used my cover stitch machine to do the hems. This one was a little bit more tricky because the hem it sort of goes up at the sides. I don't know if you can see there properly, but there's a dip round the front, so it's a little bit more tricky to make sure that you haven't got any little creases in the fabric. But I've tried it on and I really like this style actually, and it might be nice for holiday to just to be a little bit more baggy around the tummy area here, so that the air can get in, because it's going to be really hot where I'm going on holiday. We're going to Florida actually, so I might as well tell you now. We're planning on going to Florida at the end of April, beginning of May, and I am planning on doing a sort of meet-up in one of the Florida knitting shops. I haven't decided yet, but if you live in Florida and you have a knitting shop that's near you, or you'd suggest to meet up, great to know. So I'll show you the back of my Frankie T-shirt. You can actually see there that the it's not straight, the hem, so it goes up at the sides, then goes more down at the back as well. So there we go. So you can see that it's a raglan at the back as well, and it's just a nice basic T-shirt, and I thought I'd utilise my, probably for children, fish print T-shirt. So make number 2. So this is make number 2. This is an Agnes top by Tilly and the Buttons again. This time I decided I want more short sleeve T-shirts for my holiday, so I adapted the pattern and just cut it off so that I had a little bit of a sleeve there. I haven't decided yet whether that is the sleeve length that I like, because I just kind of guessed cutting it a bit shorter, but we'll see how I get on when I actually wear it. And then I'll probably make quite a few more of these, because I do like the Agnes pattern. So I made some modifications to the pattern originally. So I took into account the sizes that it said in the pattern, and I ended up making the hip area a little bit bigger, because it comes out quite a tight sort of clingy top. So I just made it a little bit less tight at the front, at the sides, sorry. And I really like the neckline. The Agnes top, the neckline is one of my favourites. I really like the way it looks on, because I've made quite a few of these. And when I talk about my make 9 for last year, I will show you a few of the ones I've made previously. As I've made this before, I know that it fits really nicely, and I have tried it on since I've made it. And it's just a nice, handy little T-shirt. Again, this fabric is from a shop called Watson and Thornton in Shrewsbury. I do go there because my parents live in Shrewsbury, so I do tend to go there quite a bit whenever I visit, because they always do the nicest jersey materials. And I hate, what really annoys me is if I buy jersey and it's not a really nice quality, because then it doesn't last very long. I like to make something that'll really last me, really, rather than having something last only like 3 or 4 wears. The materials I've bought there always seem really good. Anyway, make number 3. So this one is made from some fabric I picked up from Girl Charlie, but it must have been at least a year ago, so I don't think they have it. So it's a nice single jersey that's got some floral prints on there. It's quite a lightweight one, so again, it'll be ideal for holiday. So this pattern I actually drafted from a T-shirt that I picked up from Next years ago, and it's got holes in it. So I laid it out on the table and on a piece of paper, and I drew round as best I could the shapes for the front, the back and the sleeve panel. Which was a bit tricky because the top of the sleeve is ruched, but I just sort of laid it out and tried to measure how big the top of the arm was, and just sketched it out really, and then I made a sample just to make sure it fit, and it does. So this is the second one I've made, because I know that it fits. It's lovely to have to make a pattern from a garment you know that is really trusted and true. And it's just another addition to my wardrobe. So what I'm trying to do is replace all my ready-to-wear clothes with handmade ones. So again, this is just quite a plain T-shirt. On the back there, I think Barbara's bra strap's coming down there. Oh dear. But there we go. That's, again, I've sewn these all on the overlocker, but then used the cover stitch to finish the bottom and the sleeves and round the neck. Well, a 3 needle cover stitch to do the bottom hem, and then a 2 needle round the sleeves and round the neck. and I think that gives a nice effect. It's lovely and stretchy compared to using the normal sewing machine. I do find it better. So what I used to do was use a twin needle on my standard sewing machine, but I do prefer the cover stitch machine, even though it was quite an expensive purchase. It was well worth it. It has taken me a little while to really get into how it works, but I think it is worth it in the long run. I think I've probably mentioned it before, but my tip is on using the cover stitch. If you've got quite a thick material, I'd just use my standard machine to just tag the seams sides down, just so that it reduces the bulk, because my machine struggles a bit over when it's quite a thick material. But I know that when I've tacked it down just with my normal sewing machine, it seems to go over it nicely. So there we go. So that's the 3 makes that I've made this weekend. And I did them so quickly because I'd made all of the 3 garments before. And once I've fitted something, it's quite quick then to make up a t-shirt. Actually, I tell a lie, because that's the first time I've made a Frankie t-shirt. But because I had made a Tilly and the Buttons pattern before, then I could go by the sizes that I'd cut my Agnes top, for instance, and merge those sizes together. So I go for a smaller size across the shoulders and then go larger around the bust area and around the hips, really. And I knew which sizes of the Tilly and the Buttons patterns to then follow, so then it came out nicely and it fitted. So that was quite a nice quick sew over the weekend. It didn't take me like all day, so it was a bit of an indulgent crafty day, really. So my Make 9 targets for last year, on the top of my list was the Agnes pattern by Tilly and the Buttons. And you've seen by the one that I've made in the red fabric that I've made one over the last weekend. But I just wanted to show you some of those that I've made over the last year. So I made one out of some sewing related fabric. That was a 3/4 length sleeve that I actually drafted the 3/4 length because the pattern itself comes to the elbow, which I didn't think was as flattering on me. So this is the first one I made, which came to the elbow. I like to wear a t-shirt over that because I don't like how it makes my arms look. So this one is made out of some fabric from Higgs and Higgs. Again, I bought this quite a long time ago, so whether you'd be able to get hold of it, I don't know. So this one is made out of an art gallery fabrics with like a butterfly print on, which I think is gorgeous. So the Agnes pattern has definitely been one of my staple ones to replace all the t-shirts in my wardrobe. So number 2 on my Make 9 was the Zadie dress, which I'm wearing. So I've only made one of these so far, but I've worn this so much. And it's made out of a double jersey or a ponte fabric. And I really need to make some of these again. So you'll find that this might be on my Make 9 for next year as well. Well, this year rather. Third on my list was the Bettine by Tilly and the Buttons. So I've made 2 of these. So the first one I made was in a sort of a chambray cotton in a navy with some little birds on there, and then I made a second one out of some viscose material, which is a lot drapier. I found that because this has got a skirt on it, that the chambray I don't find as comfortable to sit in because it feels a little bit restrictive, but perhaps if I made a little bit more A-line shape in the skirt, I prefer this one. I like the way the skirt fits better in the viscose one, but I do find that because it's a lighter weight, the neck seems to go forward a little bit, and I think the ideal material would actually be to make this in a jersey, which I've seen a few people do. So I will put pictures on the screen as well of what the pattern actually is supposed to look like, because I'm obviously not showing you all of these. Barbara is having a sit down look, she's tired. So the 4th on my list was the ultimate trousers, and my ultimate trousers are in the wash at the moment, but they're a 3/4 length trouser, just boring trousers really, but I made them have some pockets and a zip fly at the front, and I keep meaning to make some more of those, but I just haven't got around to it. It needs to be on my list. I also managed to make a bra Well, I made 2 bras actually from the Kwik Sew bra pattern I picked up last year, but unfortunately they don't fit me particularly well. So since then I've purchased a new bra from Marks and Spencer's and I've made a pattern from that. So I'm hoping to have actually completed one that actually fits me properly in the next few months. I should have really put that on my make 9 for this year, but I haven't. There's too many things. My next thing on the list for last year was the Concorde t-shirt. This pattern is by Cashmerette. And I actually only made this one on the last episode, so you've seen this on the last episode. But I have made 2 of these. I've made one with grey background with white stripes on it as well, but that's in the wash. These ones I wear quite a lot, and I actually think that this is probably the most flattering jersey pattern that I have. So I'll certainly be making some more of those. The rest of my make 9 for last year, unfortunately I didn't make them. So there was the Eve dress by Sew Over It and the Upton dress by Cashmerette, and it just goes to show that I don't tend to wear dresses very much, but I think I do need one dress so that if I have like an evening do to go to, I've got something to wear, because I so haven't. And also on my list was the Ames Jeans, and Ames Jeans is a pattern by Cashmerette, and they allow for different shaped body, so they do like a pear-shaped version, I think, but they do a couple of choices anyway, so that you can choose the one that fits you the best. Unfortunately I just didn't get round to it, but I'm sure I will at some point. So my new make 9, I've totally got more than these things that I need to do in the next year, but I thought I'd just make a list of the things that I really want to get done. So I'd seen that on the Stitch Sisters, on their Instagram, oh goodness, I can't remember what their names are, but the lady with the blonde hair, she'd made a version of this Zadie dress which had black panels in replacement of this sort of plain dark grey. And then a section in the middle where she'd done a stripy black and white, and I thought it looked really lovely. But I thought that would be brilliant if I did a short sleeve version and made one of those for my holiday. So definitely want to make a couple more Zadie dresses over the next year, perhaps some more wintry ones like this one as well. I chose to make the 3/4 length sleeve here because I do tend to I roll my sleeves up if I have a longer sleeve anyway, so I might as well have the 3/4 length ones. So second on my list is a coat. So I picked up this pattern off eBay because this pattern is actually discontinued. I saw it on Suzanne from Threadquarter's video log, and she used to be called Suzanne from Sea Salt and Stitches, I think, but I think it was when she was called Sea Salt and Stitches she's actually made this pattern. So she made this pattern and I had to keep an eye on it to see if I could find a copy. And I found a copy on eBay, and obviously the package had got damaged, so they'd photocopied what the cover photo looked like to go in there, but the pattern pieces are like proper pieces inside. But I'm going to make the version A. I'll put a picture on the screen so you can see it better. Third on my list is to make more short sleeve t-shirts because I'm really short on those. About a year ago I tried to stop buying ready to wear things. So the things that I've got in my wardrobe are starting to get holes in and things, so I'm needing to replace them. So definitely want to make some more short sleeve t-shirts. And I want to make more Concorde, the Concorde t-shirt which I showed you, this one. There's a short sleeve version that's got a tab on as well, so I want to make some of those, and they've got different necklines as well, so I'm hoping to maybe have got one of those by the next episode, and I might have already cut one out. My fourth thing on my list is an asymmetric skirt. Now this pattern is from the Sewing Bee book that I bought absolutely donkeys years ago. I say that, but it's probably only about 2 years. And this is the pattern, and I saw this at the time and I thought I really want to have a go at this because it's a challenge. It's challenging to put together because there's some wiggly seams. Let me see if I can find a better illustration. So this is a close-up of how it's sort of pieced together. So I'm hoping to have a go at that. And I've already got the fabric for this, and it's a teal scuba fabric because you need something that doesn't fray to do those seams. So I thought teal, but I love the colour teal, so that would go nicely with like a black top as well. So that's on my list. The next on my list is the Linden sweatshirt. Now the Linden sweatshirt is a raglan sleeved top with a round neck, which is very similar to the Frankie Tshirt, which is by Tilly and the Buttons. And I don't know whether to buy the Linden sweatshirt pattern, and that's by Grainline Studios. I don't know whether to buy the Linden pattern or to adapt my Frankie Tshirt pattern just to give a little bit more leeway so that I can use this sweatshirt material. So I've had this sweatshirt material from, this is a Liberty print sweatshirt material, gorgeous. I've had it a little while and I really want to make a sweatshirt for sort of winter time, and I really need to get going because we're in winter now and I need to wear it. So I don't know whether I'm going to use the Linden pattern or the Frankie Tshirt, but I did pick up some pink stretchy ribbing to do around the cuffs and the neck with, because I thought that would make a nice contrast. But I've seen some people have actually used this fabric for the neck and the ribbing for the cuffs. But I don't know whether this would be too heavy for it, and some people have actually, it looks like they've used the same fabric as me to do it. So if you've used Liberty sweatshirt material to make neckbands, let me know how you've got on, or whether I'd be better off using this, or whether you think that that looks better anyway. What do you think? So that's number 5 on my make 9. Number 6. I'm going to have the Upton dress back on there because I had it on last year but I didn't make it because I bought some black satin to make a nice evening version so that I can wear it to go out in, and I thought that would be quite versatile because you could sort of dress it differently with some different jewellery and things. Number 7 is the Lizzie skirt. Now the Lizzie skirt is by Sew Over It, and it's basically just a knee-length skirt which is lined with a zip up the back. And I thought that would just be a nice standard pattern for going out in the evening. I'm hoping that I'm going to be going out in the evening a lot, obviously. Adam will have to be taking me out for dinner, I think. He only ever takes me out when it's buy one, get one free. It's a bit of a standing joke. So number 8 is a blouse. Now I've got 2 on my list, so I'm putting it as number 8 as well. So I want to make the Susie blouse by Sew Over It and also the Blossom top by Sew Over It. So they're both things that I'd need to use more stable cottons like this. This is a cotton lawn and this is I can't think of the name. I'll remember and I'll put it on the screen. So this is a print that I'd picked up from the Knitting and Stitching show last year that I bought specifically to make a blouse in, but it's obviously not a stretchy. So there's a few blouses that I'd like to make that I'm going to sort of include as one of my boxes for my make 9. What I'm going to do is, last year I did a course on how to draft patterns from scratch by making blocks. I'm going to use the blocks that I made to put up against these blouse patterns so that I can get a really good fit. But I thought because they've already sort of drafted out the collars or the neckline or whatever, it might be just easier for me to use that as a guideline rather than sort of starting from scratch, if that makes sense. But then I get a good fit because I use my blocks that I drafted out last year. Number 9 on my list is going to be sort of 2 things as well, because I've got too many things that I want to make on my list. So like cardigan type things. So I've got on my list the Blackwood cardigan by Helen's Closet, and I've seen loads of people make this, and it's just a nice staple stretchy cardigan to wear on top of t-shirts and that. But I also want to make another kimono, and the kimono pattern is by Sew Over It, and I have actually got one cut out which I shall show you next week. So I'm already starting on my make 9 already. So I'm so sorry that's really long-winded. I hope that there was some patterns there that might inspire you to do some sewing. Thanks, Barbara. Oh, she was a bit tired after a while, so I couldn't keep her working. So now we've got the Blast from the Past section. And I thought it would be nice to show you some socks that I designed last year for Valentine's Day, because that's coming up fast. And it's my V for Valentine's pattern, and there's a little lace heart with a little V underneath. And I noticed that last year quite a few people had done this lace heart repeated down the leg, which I thought was quite nice, so I might have a go at that myself. So this is knitted in my Strawberry Fields colourway. And I shall be putting some of that in my shop update, which I'll show at the end of the podcast. So there we go. So this is a free pattern, and it's a nice and easy pattern really, because once you've done that lace bit, it's quite a plain sock. And you can't ever have too many socks basically. Now I'm going to talk about my confessions. So I forgot to mention actually on the last podcast that the books that I showed weren't just for my Christmas present, they were also for birthday present as well. That's why I had quite so many. But I've got one more present that Adam got me as a sort of late birthday present as well. He saw that I was looking at in the local sewing shop, so he picked this up for me and bought it me as a late birthday present. So this is another one of the Tilda books, and I thought it was really cute because they've got these little bug little toys. Goodness knows when I'll get round to making these, but there's also like a hair in here somewhere, if I can find it. I should have put some bookmarks in here. Oh, and I also thought that these are quite nice, so I quite like the look of these little angels that they Tilda have designed, and they've got some dungarees, so I had to pick this up because they've got the dungarees in it. And I'll try and find that hair that I was talking about. So there's a section on Christmas and a section, well no, it's a sort of Christmassy wintry themed, which the hair is part of for some reason. And then there's a sort of more summery section which is based on more pink colours, and the winter's more blue. But there are quite a few things that I quite fancied making, and Tilda books are so pretty anyway to look at. They've got some little heart things that you can sew. Such a lovely thing to have on your shelf, so Adam picked that up for me. Isn't he sweet? And then I also picked up another pin I mentioned that I'd ordered on the last podcast, and it's this Cocoa Please pin. And it's from a shop called Nutmeg and Arlo on Etsy. And I've got quite a few pins from there. So the Tea Please, the Unicorn, and the Cat are all from Nutmeg and Arlo. There may be some more as well. I can't remember, but they're lovely quality pins. And now I don't think I can get any more pins on my pin pendant. I think I could probably move some of the ones at the top around a little bit so I could squish them all in. We'll have to see. I've got one more thing to show you, and I didn't show it to you before Christmas because it was a kit that Caroline from Love to Sew and I had organised, so I'll show you her little card. So we'd made a kit together, and Caroline had made a lovely bag and put some other bits and bobs together, and I'd done some yarn for it. So I haven't actually kept some of the yarn for myself, which is really silly. But this is the bag that Caroline had made, and this is her sheep that is Sybil the sheep, and she's used some lovely Liberty Lawn fabric there to make a little bag. And I've already had it sort of made into the drawstring, so it's creased a little bit. But there we go. Isn't that cute? So in this kit, there was the most adorable things. I've already opened the hand balm out so that you can see how lovely it is. I didn't use this because I wanted to show you how pretty it was in the little pot. Isn't that lovely? So this is a lavender flavoured balm that you keep your hands nice and soft with. Oh, I love it. Absolutely gorgeous. I am in love with lavender, and this just smells... it just smells actually like lavender, because sometimes when things are lavender flavoured, they don't always smell like properly like lavender. And this smells like proper lavender. Not even like just lavender oil, it smells like actual lavender. So I think that Caroline sells these separately on her shop if you wanted to get hold of some. I should show you what her shop website is. So it's Caroline Love to Sew. I think this card I've got is one of her older cards. What I shall do, because she's now moved from Etsy to her own website, I shall pop the link down below to Caroline's website so you can find it. There was some more little bits and bobs. There was some cute little scissors, aren't they lovely? And she tied a little ribbon on there, which I've left. And I think that's lovely. I'm just going to leave them on there. Some lovely little sharp scissors. And a cute little piece of Christmas cake. Isn't that lovely? And that was a progress keeper if you can't see it. And then she quite often makes these little lavender bags to go in her bags as well. So that was lovely. And then Genius, look, needle gauge with Love to Sew on. Isn't that gorgeous? So I shall be having that in my knitting bag all the time. And it's pretty too, in a heart shape. So thank you, Caroline. We did a little swap. I sent her one of my 12 Days of Christmas mini kits for swapping for one of the bags. Isn't that lovely? So finally, we've got a little bit of info on my shop update, and I will be doing some bags and some yarn in the theme of Valentine's Day. So this is my new Valentine's Day design, and I've got some applique heart fabric here and here, and I've done some free motion leaves around the outside, and then I've just written love on the front. So these, I am listing them as drawstring bags, but if you want to, I can do a zipped one for you, which will be sort of there with a zip on the top, if that makes sense. But I quite like the fact that I've done a little white strip across the top, and then the inside is lined all in white with two big pockets in there with my little stamp. And then on the back is crafthousemagik.co.uk with a little heart. And I shall show you what it looks like. I've just grabbed some yarn from my craft room to show you what it looks like when the drawstring is closed and filled. So that's got a couple of 100 grams in there. And there we go. So it'll look like that. I love these colours. Just a nice delicate pink, like a dusky pink. And I've also dyed up some yarn. So I've done some 5 20-gram mini sets, which will look like this. It's getting darker because I'm later in the afternoon. I will pop a picture up on the screen so you can see the colours better. So there's a set of little 5 20-gram minis that are sort of in the love theme. I like to think of Valentine's Day as a day to show how you care for your loved ones and your friends. So not just for partners if you haven't got one. So, and it's also a time to treat yourself. So I might have to keep some of these for me as well. There we go. So it's a set of 5 20-gram minis. And then I've also dyed up some Strawberry Fields, which is the yarn I did my V for Valentine's socks in several different bases. Now I've got some DK, which is my DK at the moment is just in merino nylon 75/25, but I also have some 4-ply merino nylon, some BFL and some sparkle base as well. And you can't ever go wrong with a bit of sparkle. And I've also done some raspberry beret, which is nice pink tones as well. And I think that actually probably goes the best with the bag. So I will list them separately, so you can order some to go together if you wanted to. But I will list them separately in case you just want the bag or just the yarn. They were sort of designed to kind of go together, but there you go. And I've also done some little DPN cases as well that match with the theme of the bag in case you wanted them to go with it. So I haven't managed to get the 12 new colourways ready for this week's update, but it will be ready for the update on the 25th of January, so watch out for that. So thank you so much for staying till the very end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I will be back next week, and I'll make sure I podcast earlier so that the daylight's better. Sorry about the shadows today. Happy crafting, and I'll see you later. Bye!